Greetings to everyone. Welcome to Coaching for Impact. My name is Nadini Ochieng, and I'm glad to have you in this podcast today. I know it's a bit chilly out there, wherever you are at, but we know that this session is going to change your life. So welcome, and may you have a good time.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's really a pleasure to be here again. Feels like it's been a couple of weeks, and I do agree it's quite chilly. You can see how I'm dressed. So we're super excited. My name is Newton Siele, and I'm honored to be here at the Coaching for Impact podcast. I'd like to make one very quick announcement. I'm sure, as you can see, we are two and not three as we usually are. So first and foremost, greetings from Dr. Karanja. She sends her regards and really also praise that you have been listening and enjoying the podcast that we have had. She will be away for a couple of months. That's about 3 months. But we will be super excited to have her back again after 3 months. And we will definitely keep you posted. And we shall make sure she's able to send her greetings in between the podcast. Thank you so much.
Lovely. So this particular day, we are talking about the most pertinent question on this earth. Why are we here? In other words, it's called purpose. Why do you exist? Why do you wake up every morning? Why do you keep going out as you go? Even with these questions, that is what we are tackling today. So I am glad to be here with Newton himself. And you know, here he's looking warm. I'm trying to psych myself. As he said, it's chilly. So today we are going to tackle purpose. Newton, what's purpose?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I must say it's quite appropriate also when we have this cold weather. I think for most of us, we struggle to, ask ourselves, why do I even wake up in the morning? Why do I go to work? Why am I going to school? Why exactly am I doing what I am doing? And I think that's sort of is where we want to be able to begin this, to have this conversation. One of the things that got us to start the podcast about Coaching for Impact was really being able to help people find their true purpose. And, we kept asking ourselves, yeah, but are we even sure first we know what purpose is? I think purpose, and we'll be trying to unpack it over the next few minutes, really begins with being very clear about why you exist in the first place, why you feel that you are put on this planet Earth, what you feel your every singular reason that you wake up every single day. That to me is what defines purpose. I don't know, what is purpose to you?
When we talk about purpose, for me, it's about the being self, other than the doing self. Because we find ourselves in the doing a lot of times. And actually, there is success. There could be success in the doing part. With the things we do, there could be every manner of success that someone is looking for. But the lingering question still always remains, because you find this, we may achieve, but there is emptiness inside, because we are not living to the why we are here. So my definition would be that. Being self.
Yeah, that's interesting. And maybe I'd like to bring you back to this concept that many people know about it. And maybe for our listeners today, you might have read the book by Simon Sinek called Finding Your Why. He talks about the golden cycle. And in this golden cycle, he talks about three things. And he says at the outermost is the what, the inner is the how, and right in the middle, at the heart of it, is the why, which I know we'll be talking about. But why do you think, and sorry for the pun, isn't it? Why does it start from the outside with what, and then the how and the why? And what does that mean for you?
For me, it's so important, because when you look at life, we tend to judge life from the outside. It's very easy for people to look and judge from the outside, from what we tend to do. And you see, it's easy for you to do what you're doing because you're used to it. It could not be enjoyable, maybe, but because it's bringing something back, or it is putting you in a situation where you feel for a while you are keeping yourself busy. And that becomes now the what. So I can do the what. The how doesn't matter, so long as it's getting done anyway. It's getting done, so I can be able to still achieve it. It's like having an employee you have two employees, one who uses a longer route, the other one the shortest route. They both achieve the same results. Now, you can't judge who did well than the other. But the reality is that what Sinek says is so important because it points to the core of things. The core of things. If I'm going to do something, it must be from a place of understanding the why I do it. And the reason the why is important, Newton, it is because it gives me a reason to wake up every day. And there are so many people who actually get caught up to a situation where, we talk of Monday blues, where you feel like Monday, man, I wish the holiday would be longer. And then if you're in Kenya, we like holidays because then you can use the Swahili fuliza word. You can fuliza some more days to stay away. It is simply because people don't know their why. If you know your why, it doesn't matter whether it's holiday or not. You always feel activated.
No, it's very true. It's interesting that when you talk about the what, most of us know what we do. Whether you're an accountant or you're a pastor, you're a singer, you are a marketer, as I am, or you're a salesperson, or you're a doctor, you are a dentist. It's very clear. And of course, often, as you've said, we know how we get to do it. I mean, how do you work as a dentist? You do tooth extraction, you do fillings. You'll do each of those things that, as far as you're concerned, are very clear. But why do you do what you do? And I'd like to link this, even as we shift the conversation, to also something that I like, or I borrow from Dr. Steve Covey, which is about being very clear about your mission statement, about your own constitution, about your own purpose. That why, similarly, should be clear. It should be linked to also what is my personal constitution, what is my mission statement, what do I expect to achieve? So when you ask people today that please give me in 2 sentences what your mission statement in life is, most would not. I don't know if you have a mission statement yourself.
I actually have mine. It's clearly defined. But I like to go to the easiest one that basically, if you are familiar with scriptures, I believe so, it's Jesus. So what was his why? And I think one day someone asked me that, and for once I was lost. I didn't know, okay, so what was his why? Just to realize he kept saying his why. I came to seek and save the lost. And so that became what drove his life. Every morning he woke up. That is all he did, to seek and save
the lost.
The lost. Yes.
And what is your why? Is that your why also?
Not really. My why is purely to be able to communicate clearly and liberate the world through the things that I do. And that is, I have several things that I do. Number one is music production and writing poetry, which I do, and I love it so much. Number two is this new passion that I have found, which is coaching, which gives me an ability to be able to directly decimate information and be able to help someone else who is stuck in life find their way. That gives me joy. I tell you, I can do it at midnight. You wake me up, I'll be happy to do it. It is my why.
And that is your why. So similarly for me, my why has 2 aspects, which is what I want to be able to impact and what I want to contribute. Mine is on leadership. And I teach people in order to bring out the best in them, in order to bring out their leadership capability in a way that they can also be able to impact, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. I think we all have different leadership capabilities and how we exercise them. So my why is very clear. I make people become better leaders, whether it's at work or at home. And that's interesting, as you said, because I wake up every day in the morning, and what I do at work, and I work in the medical industry, I'm able to actually incorporate my why into the work that I do on a daily basis. So I work with hospitals, institutions, with doctors, with different healthcare providers in really sharpening their leadership skills. And so I'm very clear about what my why is. Why do you think people, especially young people, struggle to find purpose?
Young people struggle to find purpose because they are not exposed to anything different. I think for me that will be the biggest challenge I see with young people. They don't get anything different. No one communicates to them. Okay, when you take it right from the family perspective, has the parents communicated to the child? Because remember, the scripture is also so clear. I like referring to scripture because I'm a pastor. You will forgive me. The scripture says in the book of Proverbs that bring up a child in the way he should go. Now, that clearly speaks about purpose. Do you know why? Because the Bible is, God is assuming that you, as a parent, you know your why. And because you know your why, as you observe your child, you'll have to see their why. And so don't make them be like you. That's what the scripture is saying. So guide them to be who they're meant to be. So now you can imagine from our homes, if your parent doesn't know his why, the child will not know their why.
That reminds me, there used to be, and we were talking about Kiswahili earlier,
Yes,
off camera, and how difficult it is.
yes.
And we were saying, Monday, maybe we should do the podcast in Kiswahili. But we used to be taught these methalis, and there was one which was saying that, if you are not taught, you'll be taught by the world. I don't know what you remember. What was the methali in Kiswahili?
Asiyefunzwa na mamaye hufunzwa na ulimwengu.
100%,
Yes.
which speaks to what you're saying,
Yes,
Anya, isn't it?
yes.
And even though this the methali we were doing it when we were quite young, when you think about it today, I feel like that's exactly what social media is doing to not just our young kids, but a lot of young people, because you're not clear about your why and your purpose. What happens is that you are relying on the social media to help you define your why and your purpose. And that is scary, because often what you see on social media is somebody else's why and somebody else's purpose, assuming that it's also correct. But you can imagine having to take something that you don't know and trying to live it. What do you think is the impact that this is having on our young people?
Number one, you can see there is a longing for quick success, because if you know your why, then you enjoy the process. So you'll be able to follow the process through. You'll enjoy the work you do. But now social media, what it has brought to us is shortcuts to success, shortcut to quick recognition. Now you see, it basically means that now this person doesn't have any particular goals they pursue. They have shortcutted everything to enjoy the moment, be in that moment, and feel fulfilled. Unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. So you find that at the end of the day, this person sits down and still the question of my why still exists.
Is not answered.
Yes.
And it's true, because I feel like the social influencers are busy living their lives, but at what expense? The people, the millions that are supposedly their followers, don't have a why.
Yes.
And you cannot carry somebody else's why. Which brings me to the other question, because youth also is very short-lived. And I always like to challenge people
I was one the other day.
Same. And before you know it, you actually realize that time has really gone
Very true.
so fast.
Very
And you realize that you're now getting to your 40s, getting to your 50s. And, as we were discussing in our previous episodes, you start getting into a stage in your life where there are a lot of problems.
Yes.
Is it possible, regardless of the age, to still find your purpose and your why? And what would you advise people in terms of where do they need to start to try and find this calibration so that they can have their purpose? What would be your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's never too late, but there is a caveat to it. There's a season in life where you have been enabled to do things. Now you can imagine if a period passes where what you're empowered to do the period has gone by. So you may, find yourself in that place where you still have influence because you're wired for that. But now you may not have the energy and the drive to do it. And that's why you see, for me, I feel like the Bible talks about what you find to do, you do it when you are able to do it, because a time is coming.
When you still have energy.
Yes, when you will not be able actually to do that. So you must be able. For me, I would push people to try their best. And for me, this one, Newton, I'm particularly concerned about schools. Because I know when people come to the space of school, I know people say it's parents' duty to do that, but I think school place should be also a place where people are led towards their purpose in life, in that you must have teachers around you who are able to channel you. So the challenge to the youth is learn to love your teacher. Because your teacher could be that parent who actually guides you to that purpose. So don't push them aside. Don't open up your heart to receive, especially when you see someone who is passionate about what they do. There are teachers who are passionate. I remember we had one. I had an accent that we used to laugh in class, but the passion made us love the subject. And because we love the subject, we are able to interact with the teacher. And I tell you, the entire class did well in that class. And everyone would be singing good about the teacher and wanting to emulate the teacher, despite, the accent that made us laugh every time.
No, I hear you. That reminds me of a history teacher. He was actually Kamba. And we had so much fun because every time he would come to class, he would start by saying, "Good afternoon, boys and girls." And we would, but it was so much fun. And I relate to that because they had presence and they had charisma. Yes. I think our advice, and I couldn't agree with you more, to the youth, it's never too late, yes, to be able to find your purpose. And you had better actually find your purpose and your why in life so that you make sure all of us are prescribed, and I think we've said this also previously, that even the Bible is very clear. Human beings have an expiry date. That's one thing we can't doubt. But what you don't want is to be nearing towards your expiry date and you still don't know what your purpose and what your why is. And as I said, it should really be able to also address two things: what your contribution is going to be in this world and what the impact is going to be. But I think also that's maybe why we have this podcast and the coaching session. Ours here is to be able to also signpost you and tell you that find somebody who can be able to coach you, find somebody who can be able to mentor you, try and get that person who can be able to provide the clarity that you need so that you can unpack and say, let me draft what my why is, let me draft what my purpose is, let me draft what my mission statement in life is, and put these things into a vision board. That vision board is what you should carry with you every single minute of your life. And if possible, actually, I normally tell people that you should write it somewhere where you see it every single day, because you know that this is what I really want to be able to achieve.
Mine is written always. Every new diary I get, I transfer my why into that diary on the first page. So every day I open it, the first thing I see on that diary should be my why.
Your why.
Why I exist.
That's interesting. Mine is in my bathroom. I write it always with my with my whiteboard marker. Wow. So it's there the whole year, and I keep seeing it, and also my kids get to see it. But I guess people then would ask, what if my why is not in congruence with where I'm currently working? So I have this purpose. I know what my why is, but I don't feel like where I am at the moment is really aligned. What should I do?
Two things. I wouldn't recommend you quit job. You could be the sole breadwinner, and down the road, the family will be in trouble. But one of the things I found about doing what maybe you are not called into is that you'll never find satisfaction. You'll always feel there is a void within you. You'll always feel there's something I could do more than what I do. So I always ask this, number one, if you have identified your purpose and it is removed from what you're doing, then the first question that comes before you leave that work or stop what you're doing is then, am I skilled enough for me to be able to actually live within my purpose? Or should I then get an extra skill on top of what I am doing now so that I can anchor my purpose? Now, if that's the case, then it means you may need to enroll in school, which means you may need to pay school fees, so you can't leave job to do that. So you put a plan in place, and you figure out, put a plan in place, plus a time span on how I need to achieve these things. Then with that in mind, when you feel you're at a secure base, they normally say so long as you can have a buffer that can sustain you for 6 months, then you're able to make some key decisions in life in light of change.
And transition.
In transition. Because if you don't have that buffer, then it becomes so hard for you. You'll find yourself again running back to find another place to secure your supply.
And the truth is, actually, people also tend to forget that organizations and workplaces are living. It's not the building. So even as you try and link your purpose, your why, you need to be able to identify which organization, which business speaks to what I do. And that's important. I usually, when we talk about the why, we look at the examples of most successful companies, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple, and they are quite big globally. You find that their why tend to resonate with quite a number of people. And so it becomes easier for you to be able to fit in because the organization's why, what they intend to do, and what their purpose is, speaks to what you want to do. So let's say you love the environment, for example, and you're very passionate about trying to rebuild the environment or planting trees. What you then try and do is to find an organization that is equally as passionate about the environment, and you find that it speaks to your why. Like you and me, maybe we love poetry, we love teaching, we love leadership. And so does the organization that you get to work for also give you the opportunity to be able to relate and link it with that why? And so it's very important. I agree with you that if you find a place where your why is sort of linked, or they resonate in the same frequency, at the same altitude, you're less likely to get stressed. What happens is that when you also work in a place where your why doesn't speak to the organization, doesn't speak to the business, you will struggle. And sometimes that struggle can lead to depression. Depression itself means that you will not be able to perform. You will also have trouble in terms of relating at home.
And leave alone
And
that.
people forget.
You'll always feel like there's a lot of demand on you on what you can't give.
It's draining, actually, isn't it?
It's so draining.
You
So
feel like your energy is.
Yeah,
at the
so
end
it
of the
becomes
day.
those of ticking the boxes. Did I go to work today? Just as we are saying, what you do. Did I go to work today? Did I send the mails today? So after that, but you still feel there is more I can do. But because of the paycheck, for me to survive, I need to go to that place tomorrow.
People say it's a trap. You know,
It
this
becomes-
thing of,
for sure, it is.
This thing of saying that I will work for 55 years and then with the lifespan that we say it's about 70 to 75, if you work until you're 55, that means you only have 15 years to really live.
You are
So you're in a trap where you're in a trap where you're ticking
Yeah,
stuff,
for
and
sure,
before
for
you know
sure.
it, you've been ticking
Yeah,
for
for
55
sure,
years.
for sure.
Even as we wrap up, because I think it's important for those who are listening to us to know what then would be the next steps. My suggestion, and maybe even as you also put in yours across, is I say go back to the drawing table. You need to ask yourself, do I actually have a why? Do I have a purpose? Do I have a mission statement? There are a lot of tools out there that people can be able to use to define this. You can also find somebody else who is a mentor or a coach to help you see what you have drafted. And I think it's important to self-reflect, regardless of what age you are in, to say, what do I want to do for the remaining part of my life?
That's so true. And the funny thing is that we could also be talking to a businessman. You could also be talking to a CEO who is struggling with the same. So how do they find their why? I'm a CEO, but I don't know my why. Can you imagine how that strange looks like? But the reality is, Newton, that as we bring this to an end, this is what we are saying, that it doesn't matter who you are, the status, the place you work, and what you do. What matters is that you be within the reason you exist on this earth. That if you are in that thing that you are meant to do, you will find happiness. And we are here to help. I am a coach, he's a coach. He's a CEO, so he knows what we are talking about. He's passionate about driving things and not people, because others drive people and not things. So the reality is that there is a place where you can get help. So please go to our handles right there, communicate to us in case you need coaching, you need help in any area of your life. Could it be your working space? Could it be the company, the employees? There is help here. So communicate with us and you will get the help you need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure. And thank you for joining us on this important topic about finding your purpose. Please remember, share it, comment. The purpose of Coaching for Impact really is to reach out to people and be able to impact on lives through this podcast. We thank you and we look forward to seeing you again in our next episode. God bless.
Bye-bye.